Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is my 25 favorite sequels that I have in my collection. But before we begin at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, leave those comments below. Now, I posted a poll the other day and I gave 3 options to what my next video would be, and the winner was sequels/remakes. However, upon going through some of the titles in my collection, I decided that wasn't really fair because they are totally different things. And quite frankly, I have a heck of a lot of sequels that I really enjoy, not so many of the remakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 videos. I'm going to do a top 25 favorite sequels, and then I'm going to do a top 10 separate video of my favorite reboots/remakes/reimaginings. So hopefully you'll enjoy these 2 videos. And without further ado, I just want to give out the normal caveats. Number 1, these are simply the films that I have in my collection. I'm not including anything I don't own or that are on other forms of physical media, whether I own them or not. Number 2, the biggest one is this is basically based on personal taste only. It has nothing to do with quality film. Most of these films in this list are of the utmost quality. But some of them, quite frankly, are cheese fests. They're over the top, they're goofy, and I love them. And that's the reason why they're included on this list. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do what we normally do. We're going to start at 25. We're going to work our way down to 1. We're not going to go into plots. So, number 25, speaking of that cheese, we're going to start off with, Phantasm 2. Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, and starring James LeGros, Reggie Bannister, and the late great Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man. Out of all the Phantasm movies, this one's my favorite, by far. This movie is a blast. Whether you like this franchise or not, this movie's a lot of fun. Number 24, continuing that trend of cheesy horror, Damien, Omen 2. Starring William Holden and Lee Grant, and directed by Don Taylor. This movie does not hold a candle in quality to the original classic from Richard Donner. However, I feel it's the most entertaining out of the bunch. This movie is basically Final Destination before Final Destination, and I absolutely love it. Number 23, 2010, The Year We Make Contact. Written and directed by Peter Hyams, and starring Roy Scheider, John Lithgow, Helen Mirren, and Bob Balaban. This is the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001 is definitely the superior film. However, this movie's more entertaining and it's more accessible in my opinion. I love this film. Number 22, more of that 70s cheese with Jaws 2. Starring Roy Scheider, Lorraine Gary, and Murray Hamilton reprising their roles from the original classic. And this one is directed by, where the hell is he? Gino Swank. This movie, like 2010, it does not hold a candle to the original film. This one is not more entertaining than Jaws, though. However, this movie's a slasher movie where the slasher is a shark, period. To me, this is the prototype slasher film. This movie actually came out before Halloween. And again, take the shark out of it, put a mask on some guy with an axe, you got a slasher movie. I love this movie. Number 21, Blade Runner 2049. Starring Denis Villeneuve, and starring Ryan Gosling, Robin Wright, Jared Leto, and Harrison Ford, reprising his role from the original Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott. I was really shocked how much I loved this movie, quite honestly. I did not have high hopes for it, did not see it theatrically, waited until it came out on video, and loved it. Sacrilegious coming for you, Blade Runner, like these other films, are superior to the sequel. However, I prefer the sequel as far as entertainment goes. This movie is awesome. Top 20. Number 20, Clerks 2. Written and directed by Kevin Smith and starring Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Rosario Dawson, Jason Mewes, and Kevin Smith. The sequel to the original cult classic from the 90s. I love this movie. This movie is filthy, it's raunchy, it is politically incorrect, it is offensive, and it is also extremely sweet. This movie has a heart of gold. I love, love, love this film. Number 19. Sorry, Stuart. Dr. Sleep. Written and directed by Mike Flanagan and starring Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson. Another sequel to a Stanley Kubrick classic, in this case, The Shining. And, like 2010, I prefer the sequel to the original. I love this movie. I absolutely love it. Again, The Shining is a more superior film in every way. I am not disputing that in any way. However, arguably, this one's more entertaining, especially the director's cut. It's a half hour longer, but it's such a more satisfying experience. I love, love, love this film. Number 18, Top Gun Maverick. Starring Tom Cruise, Jennifer Connelly, Miles Teller, Glenn Powell, and a small appearance from Val Kilmer. Directed by Joseph Krasinski. As I said on earlier videos, this was the movie that basically saved movie theaters after the pandemic. It was a phenomenon, and it is a phenomenal movie. It is superior to Top Gun in every way. Great movie. Okay, here we go. Next, we have from my Rambo collector's set, First Blood Part 2, directed by George Cosmatos and starring Sylvester Stallone and Richard Crenna. I was torn. I almost put the fourth installment, Rambo, on here instead, but when it's all said and done, Part 2 is definitely the best sequel. It really is. This movie was a phenomenon when it came out. I've talked previously about some of my favorite experiences working in a theater, watching crowd reactions and such. One of the ones I did not mention was First Blood Part 2. The scene where he takes the guy out with the explosive arrow and you just see meat flying. Same thing like in Aliens. People stood up and cheered every time. This movie's a cartoon, but it's a very entertaining cartoon. Number 16. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Directed by Joseph Zito and starring Corey Feldman, Crispin Glover, and Kimberly Beck. This is my favorite Friday the 13th film, by far. If I was going to include more than one installment of these in these films, Part 2 would be in here too. But final chapter, this is the way horror sequels should be done. This movie's great. It really is. It's awesome in every way, from the actual story, believe it or not, to the acting, but especially Joseph Zito's directing and Tom Savini's effects work. It's great. I love, love, love the final chapter. Number 15. From my Dirty Harry box set, Magnum Force, the second installment. Starring Clint Eastwood, Hal Holbrook, and David Soul, and directed by Ted Post. My favorite of the Clint Eastwood Magnum Force, or of the Dirty Harry movies, I should say sequels. The original Dirty Harry is still my favorite, but this movie's fantastic. It really is. Next, the only DVD A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Directed by Chuck Russell and starring Heather Langenkamp, Patricia Arquette, Craig Wasson, John Saxon. The best of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, without a doubt. The first one is untouchable. The original Elm Street movie is one of the best horror movies of the 80s. It's one of the best movies of the 80s, in my opinion. This is a great sequel. It really is. The rest of the sequels are hit and miss. This one's fantastic. Next, from my Blade trilogy, Blade 2, starring Wesley Snipes and Ron Perlman and Chris Christopherson, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Everything that I loved about Blade, I really love about Blade 2. It took everything that was great about that first movie and just made it better. Unfortunately, the third movie's a piece of shit. But Blade 2 is a phenomenal, phenomenal sequel. Number 12, Lethal Weapon 2. Directed by Richard Donner and starring Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and Joe Pesci. Pesci. The best of the sequels, might even be the best Lethal Weapon movie. I'm constantly flipping a coin over which one I enjoy more. Lethal Weapon 1 or Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon 1 has crazy Gary Busey in it, but Lethal Weapon 2 has the best villains. I love this movie. I really do. And Patsy Kensit is absolutely adorable as the little South African love interest in this movie. Great, great, great film. And number 11, from my Die Hard collection, we're going with the third installment, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Directed by John McTiernan and starring Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and Jeremy Irons. Like the Indiana Jones movies. Oh, God, I just realized I forgot the Indiana Jones movies. Oh, Jesus. All right, never mind. But like the Indiana Jones movies, okay? The original is the best. This one is arguably the most entertaining. I cannot believe I forgot Indiana Jones. I'm going to do a special video with Indiana Jones. Okay, top 10, guys. From my Batman Superman set, we are going with Superman 2. Starring Christopher Reeve, Terrence Stamp as Zod, and Gene Hackman, of course, as Lex Luthor. My favorite Superman movie, and it's not even close. I love the original, don't get me wrong. But Superman 2, like the best sequels, makes everything that first movie did, builds on it, and makes it superior. Absolutely love this film. Number 9, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Written and directed by Sam Raimi and starring the wonderful Bruce Campbell. This is my favorite Evil Dead movie out of all of them, including the TV show. I could watch this movie on a loop. I absolutely love Evil Dead 2. Number 8, The Raid 2. Written and directed by Gareth Evans and starring Iko Uwais and these three incredible martial artists / actors right here. Again, not to sound like a broken record, everything that is great about that first movie is exponentially better in the second movie. This movie is quite honestly one of the greatest action movies ever made. Period. Next, from my Star Trek collection, we are going with Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Directed by Nicholas Meyer and starring William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and Ricardo Montalban. My favorite Star Trek movie by far. nothing else even comes close. This movie is phenomenal. I'll never forget seeing it as a 15-year-old in 1982. I love this film. It is just perfect, in my opinion. It really is. Next, The Road Warrior, starring Mel Gibson and Bruce Spence, and written and directed by the incredible George Miller. Now, if you're wondering, hey, how come Fury Road's not in here? Because, you know, you love Fury Road so much. To me, Fury Road is not a sequel. It is a reboot. It is a totally different animal. Guess what? Fury Road's going to be in that other video. As it is, The Road Warrior, my favorite of that original trilogy. It blew me away. Saw it at the drive-in originally. This is one's going to be on that drive-in video coming up too. It's a masterpiece. It really is. Okay, top 5. From my Dark Knight trilogy, we are going with The Dark Knight. Directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and the late great Heath Ledger in his Academy Award-winning role as the Joker. The best Batman movie ever made, if not the best superhero film ever made. This one is right up there with Logan for me. Again, Logan is not in this list. To me, that is its own thing. It's not even a reboot. It's its own thing. This one, however, is a sequel to Batman Begins. And again, perfect superhero film. Number 4. From my Godfather collection, The Godfather Part 2. Written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and starring Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall, and Diane Keaton. This movie, as far as I know, it's the only sequel to ever win Best Picture. Both Godfather movies, the first two, both won Best Picture. And some would argue that Part 2 is better than the original. To me, it's not. I think both movies are just equally incredible. I generally don't watch one without the other. I finish The Godfather, I start Godfather 2 right away. Incredible film. Okay, guys, we are at the top 3. Number 3, from my Alien quadrilogy set, James Cameron's Aliens from 1986, starring Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, and the late great Bill Paxton, among others. Anybody who's been following my channel, you know how much I love this film. This was not only one of my top films from that year, it was one of my top films from the entire decade. I absolutely love every moment of this film. Alien is the best in the saga. Aliens is my favorite. Number 2, from my Star Wars set, The Empire Strikes Back. And again, I could quite easily have put Return of the Jedi on this list as well. However, I was trying to keep it to just one installment per franchise. And again, Empire Strikes Back, without a doubt, the best Star Wars movie ever made, in my opinion. I love every moment of it. It is such a great film. But number 1, in my opinion, is George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. The unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead, starring David Emge, I should say, Ken Faree, Scott Reiniger, and Galen Ross. Also, Tom Savini shows up as the biker. What can I say? This, again, to me, is the greatest horror movie ever made. The Thing is my favorite horror movie ever made. But to me, Dawn of the Dead is still the greatest horror movie ever made. That is why it is number 1 on this list. And I cannot believe that I forgot the Indiana Jones. Yes, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade should definitely be in this top 10. But I'm not doing the video over again, so deal with it. So, to recap, number 1 is Dawn of the Dead. Number 2 is The Empire Strikes Back. Number 3 is Aliens. Number 4 is The Godfather Part 2. Number 5 is The Dark Knight. Number 6 is The Road Warrior. Number 7 is Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Number 8 is The Raid 2. Number 9 is The Evil Dead 2. Number 10 is Superman 2. Number 11 is Die Hard with a Vengeance. 12 is Lethal Weapon 2. 13 is Blade 2. 14 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. 15 is Magnum Force. 16 is Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. 17 is Rambo, First Blood Part 2. 18 is Top Gun Maverick. 19 is Doctor Sleep. 20 is Clerks 2. 21 is Blade Runner 2049. 22 is Jaws 2. 23 is 2010, The Year We Make Contact. 24 is Damien, Omen 2. And 25 is Phantasm 2. And honorable mention, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. So I hope you guys like these picks. If you did, please, again, give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. But most importantly, please leave those comments. Other than the fact that I'm a bonehead for forgetting about Indiana Jones. I am going to be posting my follow-up video to this probably within the next day or so, probably in the morning. So until then, I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll see you on the next one.